If you haven't heard by now, this Oceangate Titan vessel has totally imploded underwater. There's actually a very good video that shows this that I'll bring up right here.
Ocean looks like this, what it kind of looks like.
Now, the reason this is making headlines is because apparently people were doing this previously. This has been a thing that, you know, if they go down there one time and they don't see it, they get their money back and they get to go back. There's a woman that came out and talked about her adventures going down there where she didn't get to see it. And then she was crying because she's so upset. It's her dream to see the Titanic, right? And, you know, for a lot of people, this is a big thing. This is a life achievement that you get to see the Titanic wreckage in person. Now, personally, I don't know that I think that is something that aligns with my values to go see this. I think personally, and I'm not making a joke here, I'm happy with just looking up Google Images and looking at it. You know, for a lot of people, seeing it in person is a whole nother experience. And there's been some things that have surfaced with this that I want to talk about. So we go over here. The Simpsons writer and producer Mike Reese revealed that he was another member that went on 3 trips with this Oceangate experience to see the wreckage. He was talking about, before he got on, he had to sign a waiver that mentioned death 3 times on the first page. Now, if we go back to see the 5 people that died, there's British billionaire explorer Hamish Harding. There is the French and Titanic expert Paul Nargeolet. And then there is Shaza Dawood. I probably pronounced that wrong, but here's a picture of all 5 of the people who died. Now, the guy right here, this is something I want to focus on. The son of the dad on the left right here is who I feel the most bad for. Not that I don't feel bad for the other people, but the 19-year-old ended up going on the Oceangate because the trip fell over Father's Day weekend. He was eager to please his dad, who was passionate about the lore of the Titanic. That is quite sad because he didn't really want to go. And, you know, he forced himself down there. And I find this to be a particularly interesting situation because I think we can all relate to situations like that, right? And maybe some not so much, but situations where you get a lot of people, you feel kind of a pressure, but it's not so much like a peer pressure as it is like, you know, you got to do this. It's never going to happen again, or, you know what I mean? Or like, oh, your dad's going, or, you know, come on with, otherwise you're going to miss out, or, you know, different things like that. And I think this points to that type of situation, which is really, really sad. I mean, it's sad that they're all gone, but I was reading some stuff on Twitter where people were talking about how the way they died was the easiest way to go, right? Instead of having to sit there and think about your death about to happen and, you know, all these different things. It's just like they were gone just like that, like a snap. And, you know, when you think about that, that really poses a lot of questions. Now, one of those questions that comes up is about the billionaires behind these businesses, right? The one main controversy with this was how one of the guys in charge of this didn't really care about the safety. He was trying to cut corners, and he said, we'll just kind of push safety to the side because I'm smart enough and I know this stuff and I trust my own doings. And, you know, Stockton Rush on board is, you know, he's going down this because he feels comfortable with this. So let's take a look at this video right here that kind of gives us a better understanding of this. Let's see what he has to say.
Well, I've been down there many times. And I know the wreck site very well, as does my friend Bob Ballard. I've made 33 dives. I actually calculated that I've spent more time on the ship than the captain did back in the day. And of course, you know, as a submersible designer myself, I designed and built a sub to go to the deepest place in the ocean, 3 times deeper than Titanic. So I understand the engineering problems associated with building this type of vehicle and all the safety protocols that you have to go through. And I think that what Bob said.
Now, he said all the dangers involved with building this type of vehicle. Personally, I look at this thing and I would not ever go underwater in one of these, let alone I'm already scared of the ocean. But taking this thing where you're sitting kind of, they showed the inside of it. Here's a better picture right here of Stockton Rush sitting there with his little Game Boy controller. That supposedly is how that thing is operated, which is crazy. That's the way it was operated to begin with. But my point is, they kind of have to sit like Indian style in there. So there's not really much room to begin with. There's just one hole and one little toilet in there. And it's not the most, it's not the most pleasurable experience being inside that thing. But let's go back to this video here.
I was watching is absolutely critical for people to really get the take-home message from this, from our effort here, is deep submergence diving is a mature art. From the early 60s, where there were a few accidents, nobody was killed in the deep submergence, until now, is more time than between Kitty Hawk and the flight of the first 747. So if we haven't improved over that.
And that's the thing. If they haven't improved, how come, they didn't spend any time looking at the safety and the regulations of things like these, especially when it comes to people's life being on the line. I'm personally never going to, if I see death, possible death on something I'm signing, no shot. There's no way I'm doing that.
Period of time, we have improved drastically over that period of time. And the certification protocols that all other deep submergence vehicles, except this one, that carry passengers, especially paying passengers, all over the world in tropical waters.
And that's another point of contention with this, is that how much it costs to do this. This isn't for everybody. This is like a billionaire's sort of thing to do. $250,000 per person for something that your life is online. But let me get into that in a little bit.
The safety record is the gold standard. Absolutely. Not only no fatalities, but no major incidents requiring all of these assets to converge to a site. Of course, that's the nightmare that we've all lived with, since all of us entered this field of deep exploration. We live with it in the back of our minds. But because implosion, as Bob described it, such a violent event, is first and foremost in our minds, the pressure boundary, which is what they call the hull of the sub, that the people go inside, is obviously first and foremost in our minds as engineers. And we spend so much time and energy on that. And we use all the computerized tools available today, finite element analysis. We worked on our sphere for our deep vehicle that went to the Challenger Deep for over 3 years, just in the computer, before we even made the thing. And then, of course, we pressure tested it over and over and over, and so on. So, this is a mature art, and many people in the community were very concerned about this sub, and a number of the top players in the deep submergence engineering community even wrote letters to the company saying that what they were doing was too experimental to carry passengers and that needed to be certified. And
if it's too experimental, then why are you doing it? Do you know what I mean? This isn't like, oh man, let's just experiment on this thing. It's like, no, this is like, you're either doing it or you're dying. There's no, let's try this out.
And so on. So I'm struck by the similarity of the Titanic disaster itself, where the captain was repeatedly warned about ice ahead of his ship, and yet he steamed at full speed into an ice field on a moonless night, and many people died as a result. And for a very similar tragedy where warnings went unheeded to take place at the same exact site, with all the diving that's going on all around the world, I think it's just astonishing. It's really quite...
It's crazy they went ahead with that so easily. I mean, man, ocean is so damn freaky. And that's the thing that I looked at too, is when you think about the risk versus the reward, right? I think the risk is much higher than the reward, unless you're a super adventurous person that is so ingrained in doing this kind of thing that this is like everything to you, then maybe that reward is a lot higher than the risk. But I think the average person is going to say the risk is at a much greater stake. Now, if we come over here, this is what I found interesting. The guy in The Simpsons just kind of talked about how he just fell asleep on it and just enjoyed it till he woke up and saw it, and then he had a good time, you know what I mean? Another thing that was so uniquely bizarre about this whole thing was how we were getting led on by the internet about the sounds that they were hearing, these banging noises that they kept hearing. And it was giving people little like glimmers of hope. We all were like, oh man, maybe they'll survive. I don't know. They'll somehow float up and somehow some people will be alive through this. And as that was kind of a weird hope in the back, the Navy had known all along that, this thing had imploded on Sunday. So here we are, I think we found out Thursday, which was yesterday, which was a long, 4-day time span to be sitting there wondering about this, when it says right here on NPR, the U.S. Navy heard the likely implosion of the missing Titan sub on Sunday. So it was all about, how to publicize it, and they didn't want to just come out and say it's gone. That was another strange thing about this. But that is kind of irrelevant when there's people's life that is totally taken away by one of these things. And it really raises a lot of questions for people doing these kinds of things now. Is it worth it, to take these kinds of risks? People are talking about all sorts of different things. It's making people not want to be so adventurous now. That's kind of all I wanted to talk about with this. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. I wanted to make more videos kind of like this that are just me talking to you about something that I'm interested in. So if you enjoyed that, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think of these kinds of videos, because I do want to start including these on here. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.